who I was. And so it just felt right for some sort of, narrative arc and a cool little character study, and it allowed me to go back in time and open up some old wounds and explore that time in my life.
Well, that's, I love the way you said it, because that is, a lot of us that were involved in sports and athletics, and I've played sports all my life, always struggled with exactly that. Will they find out? What's going to happen when they find out? Was it important for you to tell this beyond opening up old wounds? Was it important to tell a story that maybe would resonate with a lot of people and make them understand the real struggle that college quarterback, receiver, all-star basketball player, baseball player, who cares what he is could be just one of us homosexuals,
Yes. Yeah, I kind of made the film that 10, 12 years ago I would have really benefited from seeing. That was another approach that I took in piecing this together, was to kind of shine a light on that element of the coming out process. For, there's thousands of queer, questioning, closeted athletes across the country who aren't sure if they're allowed to be who they really are, and we're hoping that this is a story that tells them you're okay, you're just the way you're supposed to be, you're just the way that God intended, and that's okay, and live that truth.
And come out. How come you chose not to take that route?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I only ask great questions.
Oh, well, I've learned. Here we are. That's a fantastic question. An early draft of an early version of this film was more so a movie about Dakota feeling like he lives under his dad's shadow. That was kind of what I wrote. That's what we went to set and we shot. But as the edit came to be what it was, it became less about his relationship with his father and more, I think, about his relationship with himself. And I don't know, in my head, Dakota's relationship with dad it's more so with Coach. That's the extent of their relationship. Like, there's the brief moment where he comes out of the bathroom after shaving and dad says, "Oh, so I heard you took Skylar out." "Yeah, we went to the boardwalk." Nice. Like, that's all they can connect on. They don't really know how to connect on a level that's any deeper than that. And so for me, it was the relationship with Skylar that he really thought he was letting that person down by not being able to live his truth, and that felt like a more correct, I guess, closure in the relationship was with that romantic interest of his.
Yeah, I mean, it's really common for anybody to ask the question, "Oh, how come they did this?" or "How come that?" Because that's what the filmmaker wanted.
Yeah.
But I did struggle a little bit because I felt that the big conundrum for him was as much Skylar, but Skylar was more, I guess maybe even a beard. You guys have heard that term, right? Kind of a beard, right? And the real struggle for him was with the father, who he even said it. What's he going to do? How does he live up? Did you ever feel like you could disappoint somebody? How would he live up to that legacy when all he's ever known was to play football? So I did find that interesting, that they never. It was close. I thought for a second it was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, there were certain moments that I knew I was never going to explore with this, and a big coming out, like the Pride Parade at the end of the movie. I knew it wasn't.
That would have been perfect right after the football game.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You guys have some questions? Yes.
Congratulations on a beautiful film.
Thank you.
Could you talk a little about the framing device of the trick through the various, how you open and then kind of almost close with it? It's a very interesting device you use.
Framing device in terms of what?
You keep bringing back the Obi-Wan character, so to speak.
Yeah. How do I approach that answer? That's a great question. That's something we discovered in editing. The original script, basically the entirety of that scene plays out up until he gets the Obi-Wan moment. So it's like the whole thing, then he gets off the bed, and then we cut to all of the movie, and then towards the very end we cut back and he gets this lesson. But it was a suggestion by our assistant director as everyone's watching cuts and giving me feedback, and he said, "What if you went back and forth and you took that opening scene and sprinkled it in with certain moments. And of course, me editing, I'm thinking, that's a terrible idea, it's a stupid idea. But then I try it, and I fall in love with it. And so that was Miko, our AD, who kind of made that suggestion. And that's after he did, and once we kind of leaned into it, then I really leaned into it. And it was fun to play around with, okay, yeah, when are we cutting back to that, and why? What is he going through with Skylar in this moment, or with Jaden? What are they going through? And then why are we gonna juxtapose that by going back there? So, yeah, to me, that moment in that bedroom with him is him trying something on. It's him really being allowed to do something free of judgment, of a reputation to uphold. He's just with this total anonymous stranger. And so, seeing that throughout the story, I'm glad that the suggestion was made, because I'm really happy with how that edit kind of came together.
I was just thinking, I have a sequel that I'm kind of thinking about. It opens with the Pride Parade. His parents are there with their P-flag shirts on.
Perfect.
And does that work?
You've got me. Is that it, or?
No.
There's more to the story.
Give me it was 10 seconds. Give me
Okay,
a little more
great.
time. I'll come up with something. Scott, I saw you had a question.
It was very interesting to me. I love the film, but very interesting. I'm having a popcorn moment. The juxtaposition between the friends of his and how they acted.
A little louder, Scott, so everyone can hear.
The juxtaposition, how he acted with his friends, at the same time, also for the other people who were telling him, it's okay, it'll be okay, it'll be okay. And that to me was a very, I don't know if it's like that, because when I was in high school, it wasn't like that.
Uh-huh.
And you didn't get, it's okay.
Yeah.
You never heard it anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm an old man, maybe today it's easier.
Uh-huh.
But you got that very interesting two pieces in the movie. Did you think about it that way, or how did you feel about that?
I mean, I knew, I debated with myself, are we gonna set this film in 2012 when I was in high school? Are we gonna go back 10 years and call this a period piece? And logistically, that offered several hiccups. So I kind of leaned into the idea of, let's explore the coming out process through a really contemporary lens, where you're gonna have, a Gen Z student like the Liam character who's marching by the beat of his own drum, and there's a lot of young kids that are able to live that version of themselves, or that their authentic self, and those kids exist. But then there's still the kids like Dakota who have internalized that they're not allowed to be who they are. Even today in 2024, those young kids still exist. So we try to kind of be mindful of, like, hey, coming out really that big of a deal anymore? Well, for a lot of young athletes in particular, yes, it's still a scary thing to kind of do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In sports, we're everywhere. We know that, and I'm sure that we're in sports just as much as anybody else.
We exist.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love the movie, and when you were writing the actual movie, were you conscious about him, one, not to make a decision, because he says, I just know I'm not straight, and then you left all the other storylines for different characters open. Was that considered so that each person could see with their own storyline within it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, like I said, we knew the Pride Parade at the end of the film wasn't going to be a thing. It was important for me to try to wrap up Dakota's internal narrative with himself. He's reached a point where he has, come to some sort of conclusion. Maybe he can't say the G word just yet, but he's at least had this conversation on the bleachers, with his girlfriend there. And the other arcs with the other characters is maybe kind of a notion of everyone's going through their own struggles in high school. It's such an awkward, weird time for everybody. Like the line that Jaden says, like, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea about me. I don't want to get kicked out again. People have asked, well, what does that mean? I don't know. It just means that we're all kind of struggling with something, and so leaving those storylines a little bit kind of choose your own mystery was okay with me, because I knew that that's how it is for a lot of people through high school. It's just a 4-year process of trying to figure out who we are.
Okay, he won the MVP. This is the sequel. He won the MVP, right?
Okay.
Won the MVP, and all of a sudden, he's the Pride Parade is going on. The parents are wearing their and he wakes up out of his dream.
And it was all a dream.
It was all a
Okay,
dream.
now you've
We're
sold me.
building this movie. By the end of this Q&A, we're going to have a whole new film for you,
Perfect.
and we're going to premiere it right here at OUTshine.
Excellent. Okay. I
Any
love
other
it.
questions? Yes.
So I have a question. Do the friends stand for like the steps in Dakota's life? Like the first friend is kind of like scared, I don't want to get kicked out. The girlfriend is more of like accepting, and then Liam is more of like I'm free.
I would love to say that that is exactly what I had in mind as I built these characters, but I will just be totally transparent and say that wasn't intentional, but I'm going to absolutely steal that and bring it to the rest of our screenings this year and say, yes, did you guys catch that? That was absolutely intentional. Really, really cool observation. I have never thought of it that way, but in some ways there's 3 different versions of this character that he has to, perform in front of his parents, or in front of Jaden, or in front of Skylar, or in front of Liam, or in front of the stranger. Like that's what we do. We kind of act. We put these fronts on with, we code switch,
Everybody
right?
knows this a little differently.
Exactly. So there was a lot of that in the writing that I was somewhat mindful of, but I liked the steps. That's a really cool observation. One of the casting processes with casting the lead was, okay, here's 3 sets of sides, because this is 3 different characters essentially. It's like I just said, it's the character with this person and with this friend and now with the girlfriend, and they're approached in different ways. So we had to kind of approach casting like that. It was good. It was fun.
So what was your favorite moment of this film? Favorite scene in the movie?
The circle jerk scene,
Oh, come on, that's so gay.
A favorite moment. I really love the ending. I love the last few moments in the huddle when he's pumping his team up. I love the climactic score that brings us. We cut to a hard black. I've always liked kind of sneaking in at the very end to watch that. It's fun to see where we get laughs and where we don't, and so those are always kind of interesting. But I'll say some of that the bedroom sleepover stuff was fun to write. It was really intimate to shoot. It was fun to shoot, and it was really fun to edit, because I cut the movie, and it was fun for me to be editing and think, okay, how long can I hold on this before I have to have him say a line? And I tried to really push that basically as long as I could. It was fun to do that.
So what's on the horizon for you?
I'm on development on a new feature script. I did not write. A wonderful actor, writer, producer has reached out. In fact, he had a pilot here last year.
Who's
that? That's James, whose last name is escaping me. He's going to kill me. But we're very fresh new friends, and
We know exactly who you're talking about.
yeah.
You don't even have to say his last name.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So we've linked up, and I've been attached to but to direct the script that he's written, and we're hoping to shoot a year from now or so. It's kind of a pandemic set exploration of 2 ex-lovers who are attempting to reconnect with each other, but they have to kind of reconnect with themselves first.
So with all these varied questions, and you see how brilliant our audience is, will you commit right now to giving us your film for the next OUTshine?
Absolutely. I would
There we-
love to.
One more question. Go right ahead.
Sorry. So I thought the film was great. I was really impressed by how well the actors were acting. Was this the first film for most of these actors? And I hate to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Approximately, what did it cost to produce this?
Yeah, great questions. The actors were, for most, I guess for all of them, that was kind of their first feature. Jake, our lead, had done a feature prior to this, but this was the first time he was carrying kind of the titular character, right? And some of the supporting cast had done some short films and some really excellent TV work. But I think for all 4 of them, it was basically their first feature. And regarding budget, my lawyers have told me this has to be undisclosed until a certain point. So I can't totally dive into how much we spent. But we pulled a few favors to pull certain things off. I guess that's about as far as I.
How was
to
it
go.
directing him? How was it directing the lead?
It was the most fun I've ever had. Directing this movie was just a joy for me.
Take us through a few things that you worked with him on, that you changed, that you helped him grow with.
Sure. We did a proof of concept several years ago in 2020. The scene with the Obi-Wan character is basically the proof of concept, and that's a short film called Rendezvous. Jake was in that. He played Dakota in that. JB was the Obi-Wan character. So we did that short several years ago. And then when I wrote the feature and we started casting for the lead, I knew that Jake had set a bar on that short that was, really going to be difficult to match. And lo and behold, no one came even close. So I reached back out to Jake and said, "Hey, do you want to play the lead here?" And he was just stoked to do it. And he had a couple months to prepare for the role. He got into the gym a bunch and would go run routes and throw the football around with his buddy Colin, who played Jaden. So he had a great time kind of prepping for the role. In indie film, you don't have a whole lot of time for rehearsals, so a lot of our rehearsals would come on the day as camera is setting up a shot. We'll go to a back room and talk about what this scene is about, what's happening in this scene, and maybe where they had just come from, and what are you thinking in this moment. And a lot of those great conversations happened, as camera is getting set up. Of course, there's production fires. Our entire high school location drops out a week before we started filming, so we had to completely Frankenstein a high school location together. But what came out of that fire was the serendipitousness of a new schedule, and what came out of that new schedule was the breakup scene with Skylar ends up being the very last scene that we film during principal photography. So it allowed 18 days of these two young boyfriend girlfriend to basically fall in love with each other on set every day, and then kind of break up on that last day of shooting. Working with Jake was incredible. Working with the entire cast was a total dream come true for me.
Of all that rehearsal time, how much was spent on getting his hair to be just right?
That's all him. I know where I let Jake do that stuff because I know he's very particular about it. So yeah.
You can tell. Well, thank you so much for giving your film to OUTshine.
Thank you so
You guys
much.
enjoy it?
Thank you.
So go out to Step and Repeat. We'll take some pictures. We do that. We take
I'm
some pictures
happy.
with the
I'm
audience.
happy to for $5 a picture. I'd love to.
That's how they make their money. Hey guys, remember we have free Uber rides to and from the theater within 25 miles. We've got movies going all day, all weekend. Don't forget to vote. You have your little ballots. This guy could possibly be getting some more money, more than the $5 a picture.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank
It was
you
great.
very
It was
much.
really
I
great.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you over the course of the festival.